Alright guys, I'm going to show you this game, Fishing for Fractions. So you'd have to make yourself some fraction cards. So just write fractions. But there's different degrees, meaning you can make it harder or easier for yourself. For instance, if you have fractions that are like halves, fourths, eighths, twelfths might be a little bit harder, but these are all things that would go together, whereas like tens and fifths could go together. You could, I would guess probably, but to make it more challenging, you could put them all together. So it just depends on how you want to do it, because when you're adding the fractions up, you'll have to turn them into an equivalent fraction. So you can make it fit to where you're at, okay? So say I drew these two cards, 1/4 and 2/8. I would write down the equation, 1/4 plus 2/8 equals m with the unknown. So what am I going to do here? I have 1/4, I have 2/8. I want to get a common denominator, so I decide, I look at this and I say, oh, I could turn this into fourths by dividing by 2, or I can turn this into eighths by multiplying by 2. It doesn't matter which way you do it, just as long as you do it. So see, because they're actually equal to each other. So my final answer would be 4/8 or 1/2. All right. Now, if let's say I picked, let's do fifths. 1/5 plus 2/8. This is if you're making a harder one for yourself. So if you had 1/5 plus 2/8, then I have to skip count by 5s until I find a multiple they have in common. The other trick is if you just multiply them to each other, that will tell you a common denominator. But we can try skip counting first. So we go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Anything yet that they both go into? Not yet. 30, 35, 40, and boom, we're done. So we have to turn both of these into 40ths. Isn't that crazy? Such a big number. And basically all we did was 5 times 8 gets us to 40, and 8 times 5 gets us to 40. So whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So over here, to do to the top. So I end up with 18 40ths. It's a big one. Can we simplify that? Yes, we can. How would I simplify it? I've got 18 40ths. Simplify means I'm dividing. They are both even numbers, so they can both be divided by 2, that's for sure. So let's start with that. So that gives me 18 divided by 2 equals 9, and 40 divided by 2 equals 20. Is there anywhere else I can simplify that anymore? Nope. We are done. Actually, are we? Yes, we are. Sorry, I think about that. So because 9 can only be divided by 9, 1, or 3, and none of those would work for 20. So we know that that is as small as it can get. All right, so you can, as I said, make it easier for yourself or harder for yourself. You could even just start with making all of the cards just all fifths and go improper fractions like 7/5, 8/5, and just work on simplifying your mixed number. So suppose you had 6/5 plus 8/5 equals 14/5. And remember, we did this today or yesterday. I forget, the days were running into each other. All right, so 5 can go into 14 2 times. Gives me 10, 4 left over. So that means my answer would be 2 and 4/5. All right, so that's just an idea to keep practicing working on adding your fractions. You can do the same game with subtracting. You can do it with mixed numbers. You can do it with whole numbers with a younger brother or sister to help them. Maybe do 2-digit, you can work with that, or even just you practicing your math skills. So keep learning. Talk to you soon.